Hey, well, welcome to everybody who's watching. Thanks for joining us to discuss, a really important topic, maintaining our mental well-being, in the defence community in this fast-moving and changing scenario that we have with COVID-19. Got some fantastic people here that I'll hand over to introduce to in a minute, just to let you know we're all in our homes, looking after ourselves and our loved ones, and so we're using the latest and greatest technology, but bear with us. We couldn't pull this panel together in a physical sense. Might hand over to JK first. Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit, mate, and then pass around the screen?
Yeah, hi. My name's John Kirwan, but everyone calls me JK, so I'm really happy to be called JK. Just to start off, I'd really like to thank the services on behalf of me as a civilian. I think you are an outstanding group of New Zealanders that put yourselves, put the country ahead of yourselves. So I just want to thank you for that. Firstly, I've been the face of mental health in this country for the last 15 years. And, we are in an amazing time. So for me as a person, I've been through in the last 3 or 4 days, stress and anxiety, all stuff that I've had to talk to and understand in myself. And I just really want to be able to be part of this conversation to talk about those things in what is a real challenging time for everyone. So looking forward to sharing some of the things that I've been through and hopefully can resonate with all you people out there.
Great. Willie, do you want to go, mate?
Yeah. Yep. Kia ora whānau, the wider Defence Force community, our veteran community, and to the people of our nation. My name is Willie Apiata VC. We're here to share our experiences and our knowledge to help support the calm that we need within our country at the moment, to help bring us all together for what we need to achieve for our people and our nation here. And also try and also give you tools to help with the anxiety and fear that we're all feeling at this stage and that we're all going through. So look forward to our discussion this morning.
Great.
Kia ora mai tātou to our panel members. Thank you very, very much for your inputs today. Nami kia koutou te whānau whānui o te opi katoa Aotearoa, and to our whole Defence Force family, from our cadets through to our regular force personnel, our reservists, our families, our civilians, and our former serving personnel, our veterans. All the best to you as well. I'm Mark Mortiboy, the Warrant Officer of the Defence Force, more commonly known as Titch. And my job is as the Senior Enlisted Advisor to the Chief of the Defence Force and the senior leaders of our force. Part of my role sees me also as a mental health and wellbeing champion. So I'll bring that to the table today and help to provide some context around our Defence Force as we move through these times. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Kia ora, I'm Fiona. At work, I'm known as Dr. Fiona Crichton. I'm a health psychology specialist, and I'm very privileged to join this panel today. And I'd like to thank everybody for inviting me here, and I hope that I can help a little bit with the science behind some of the things that we're feeling right now. But while I'm a health psychologist, I'm also a mum. And I have a kid who's living in LA right now, and she works at the Children's Hospital of LA. So she is a little bit ahead of us. And so she has a lot of learning that I have managed to pick up on. So I'm hoping to bring some of that knowledge and experience to the talk today, because we are all in this together. This is a stressful time for every single one of us. And fortunately, we can look at the things that we can do to make this a better way to be at a time of real uncertainty and anxiety.
Great, thanks guys. And just to fill in the gap, Adam Clark is my name, and I guess I'm a tech geek for want of a better word, but have been working really closely with both JK and Fiona in the mental health space over the last few years. It's an area of passion and some relevance for me. Hey, look, I'd like to start perhaps with normalizing to some degree what everybody might be feeling in this completely abnormal situation. And Fiona, perhaps with your background, looking at how is everybody feeling? Because I think we're talking specifically the Defence Force here. You know, how's everybody feeling? Because they're a subset of everybody.
That's right. So just talking to you guys today, we realised that within the Defence Force itself, we've got people who might be living alone. We've got people who have young kids. We've got people who have got parents who are maybe elderly. We've got people who may be asked to do some things that are quite tough right now, but they're not sure what that is. So we've got people that are living with uncertainty. We've got people who are worried about others. We've got worries about our financial situation. And as a country, we are dealing with an unprecedented level of concern. And so the first thing I'd say is that it is very normal to feel anxious right now. And we kind of need a little bit of anxiety, because if we weren't anxious right now, we wouldn't have people doing the things that they need to do. So the anxiety that we're feeling is actually really kind of good, because JK mentioned, and he might talk about this, that this morning he saw some people out swimming. So for those people that are not following instructions, they need to understand that we're in a situation where we really need to stop and change the things that we're doing. So the stress is adaptive in that way. Understanding that we actually have a threat that we need to change our behaviours is good for us. But the problem is that when we have anxiety and we live with fear all the time, we can freeze and we're not doing the things that we need to do to keep ourselves physically well.
Yeah, I might just jump in there, Adam, if that's okay, because now everything that Fiona talked about, that was me on over the weekend on Monday, and I was really scared and I was really anxious. And what I've learned through my journey with mental health was to actually, instead of putting that in the back of my brain or hiding it in the cupboard, as I call it, I bring it out onto my knee and I cuddle it. So my fear was the unknown. I didn't know what I was going to or forward to, and that made me really, really anxious. So once I put that on my knee and said, okay, I'm scared of the unknown, then I break it into two things. What can I control and what can't I control? And, you know, I'm like Fiona. My son has been playing football 30 minutes from the epicenter in Italy in a place called Reggio Emilia. So I reached out to him to ask him how he's doing, how he's dealing with it, what it's like. And that gave me some peace. So community, either close or further out, was really important for me. And once I made peace with those emotions, that was important. And we're going to have all different emotions. You know, when I get scared, I get anxious. Other people might get angry. You know, other people might be overcome with, you know, crying and stuff like that. So it's important. It was important for me to make peace with my fear and anxiety, and then understand what I can control and what I can't control, and that made me feel better.
Yeah, look, I think key thing here is it's normal that we feel uncomfortable, right? There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a big change in our lives. There's a lot of fear, and you know, I've heard the All Blacks recently in the last decade or so talking about walking towards that. That's maybe you know, similar to you putting it on your knee and giving it a cuddle, JK. So JK was just talking a little bit about you know, some of the anxieties he's faced and how he's dealt with those, and you know, some of the things he uses every day now to keep himself well and thriving. And I had just thrown over to you to maybe, you know, you've been in a few anxious spots yourself, I'm sure, and have you know, done a lot to learn how to cope with those, and thought you might be able to talk to some of that in your techniques and how you're dealing with things at the moment around your mental well-being.
No worries, Adam. Yeah, well, fear, being scared, shucks, it is, like Fiona was saying, it is just a natural thing that happens to us. But fear and being afraid, for me, was one of the most powerful emotions that I could ever come across in my life. because it made me do things quite extraordinarily that I didn't think I was ever capable of. And, you know, for myself, and how I work with my horses is, you know, both of us are afraid of each other. But the only way to overcome that fear was to relieve the pressure that was right up in our face. Now, for me, by just putting a little bit of pressure on the nose of the horse enables it to take that one step back. And that's all we need to do is the pressure that we have on the front of our faces at the moment. We need to just take that one step back so that we can just see a little bit clearer. Remove ourselves from that pressure by just taking that one step back. You know, we're all going to feel it. We've just got to, like JK was saying, you know, what can we do anything about it? Yeah, and do something. You know, for me, my biggest fear was ensuring that I got all my family home, my kids. They were all spread out. My mum. So the things that I could do something about, I did. Now that I'm at home, I have my family here, my extended family, I'm in contact with them. It is the reassurance, talk to them, staying connected, working together, making sure that, you know, that you understand that it is a scary time and that it is okay to be fearful of what's in front of us at the moment, because the only way we get past this together.
Yeah, man. I know we got our kids here, but having mum and my siblings further away, it's tough. We should talk about maybe a bit later how we can all help each other and how we can help the Defence Force family look after their family that might not be with them. Hey, Titch, your thoughts on potentially some of the specific anxieties that might be with people in the Defence Force over and above the, you know, the common anxieties across. Let's accept it, not just New Zealand but the whole world.
Yeah, sure. I think that you know, through our training and experiences, we have some advantage in terms of being able to draw on those situations and identify, you know, what works for us as individuals, particularly at this moment in time, but also as a collective group. And we might have to adjust some of that to be in line with the likes of isolation. One of the things we're really big on is routines and being able to keep with a routine, but at the same time being quite adaptive to a changing or an unknown environment, and then being able to be agile to look at how we're operating or what we're doing on a daily basis and just adjusting that accordingly. So I think we can draw on that. Having said that, in most of our other experiences, we've relied on our families to be our pillar, our rock, our support base. And in this particular situation, you know, some of that may be changing, or it's in a different circumstance. And so our people may find themselves being more anxious than normal about the family situation, as you've all described. So I think that's one of the things that we need to be really mindful of, is looking out for each other and not assuming that everyone is in the same situation, because even amongst just a panel here, you know, we've got different situations going on with families, and then what we're required to do. So I think it's just being aware of that and you know, relying on our training and our previous experiences, and then adapting to this environment, I think is a good way to go into it.
Yeah, for sure. Look, so we talk a bit about where people are at, and that it's okay, it's normal. In fact, it's natural, right, that we're feeling this way. And to Fiona's point, it's actually helpful, because it, you know, it heightens. As Willie said, he's done some amazing things when he's been scared. I'll just throw it open to each of you maybe quickly to talk about some examples of things that you can do, you know, that help, some practical things for the people watching that they can go and do today, tomorrow, whether it's about themselves or the people with them or the people that aren't with them, that they care about.
So I might just speak to the idea that we're going right now into self-isolation, many families. So I can speak to some of the things that you can do to make that self-isolation a bit better, because that's a stress in itself. The idea of being locked down with your family and sometimes relationships, even the ones that we really love, the idea of being with them for 24 hours is not necessarily the most Yahoo moment. So what I would say from my background is, don't inundate yourself with that negative news. So if you're at home, don't have CNN on all the time. Take a break from the news, because when you're feeding yourself all of the doom and gloom around the world, you can't do anything about it. It's not going to change what you're doing now. Choose a time in the day when you want to check in with the news. And your job, for the people that are watching us, that might not be possible, but for your families, it can be. So be really careful about having the news and having those COVID conversations around small kids. They're listening, they're hearing, and sometimes they're misinterpreting what you're saying, but they're picking up on the anxiety. Then the next thing I'd say is try as much as you can to be in the today, because projecting tomorrow when we're talking about a future we don't really understand and we don't know what's going to happen, it's really helpful to be present, saying, what can I do today and what can I control about today? So try and be in the now as much as possible. And the really important thing is to stay connected with your community, with the people that you love, virtually. If you can't visit them, schedule a time in the day, at least 30 minutes a day, to make a phone call, contact your grandma, your granddad, your friend who might be living by themselves, and that's particularly if you're self-isolating by yourself. Make sure that you're reaching out, and online really works for that, or make phone calls, because our social connection is the thing that helps us when it comes to our well-being. Keep active, do some exercise, even if it's jumping jacks in your front room, turn up the music and do a dance. And finally, I'm going to say, and open it up to other people, that it's really important to acknowledge your feelings. If you're feeling angry, if you're feeling worried, if you're feeling fearful, if you're just feeling annoyed, tell yourself that it's fine to feel like that. This is our normal right now. And when you start acknowledging how you feel, then it lessens the intensity of those feelings. And if you don't want to talk to someone about it, write it down, because what happens with the brain is when you write something down, it transfers it into the part of the executive function of our brain, and we can control those emotions better if we've acknowledged them and we've allowed ourselves to feel them. And then you can feel a lot calmer. Oh, and my final point, try to spend some time during the day breathing, doing deep breathing. JK will talk a little bit about how that can help. Just taking some breaths sends a signal to our amygdala, which is our fight or flight response system, to stand down.
And look, you talked, Fiona, about acknowledging our feelings. I suspect it's also important that we pause before we act on them and give our brains a bit of time to, you know, calculate. Certainly with anger, right? Let's acknowledge it, then take a bit of time and before you pursue whatever action might be in your mind.
Very sensible, yes. Write it down and acknowledge it. It doesn't mean you need to act on it. In fact, if you write it down and acknowledge it, it will tend to dissipate if it's anger. Suddenly you can feel more in control.
I think what Willie said is, you know, taking that step back. And, you know, I think the most important thing that I do on a daily basis, and I think Titch talked about routine, is I have a daily mental health plan. And I really stick to that. And people go, oh, that must be, you know, complicated. No, it's really simple. So, for example, my routine is I get up in the morning and the shower that I have is the most important thing that I do. But I don't think about the future and I don't think about the past. I think about the hot water and how good that feels. I sit and have a cup of coffee. Right now, I can actually sit with my Italian coffee percolator and smell the coffee and really enjoy that moment. To talk about specifics, you know, we need to be safe. and we need to be kind. So what does that actually mean for me practically? To be kind, the first thing I need to do is be kind to myself. So take a step back from my emotions. You know, I tend to isolate when I'm under pressure and anxious. So I know that. So I give myself some breathing space and I reach out to people, and that makes me feel better. So I'm kind to myself, and then I'm kind to others. What does being kind to others mean practically at the moment? I try and put myself in their situation. You know, if someone's a bit grumpy around me, I sort of say, well, maybe their reaction is that, and try and give them some space. So that's what being kind means. Being safe at the moment for me means sticking to Jacinda's rules. She's told us to isolate. I'm going to do that. So I want to be safe, and I want to encourage my family to be safe. And I'm also reaching out to my son in Italy, who's actually giving me confidence because he's in the middle of it and it's starting to get better over there. So I know that by being safe here, we're doing the right things and we'll get through this a lot quicker. Fiona talked about breathing. You know, when I got really, really unwell, so I was medically depressed, I had to take antidepressants. I went to my psychiatrist and she said to me, you know, JK, the antidepressants will give you some balance, but you need to start taking control of your anxiety. I said, oh, sweet, how do I do that? And she said, you need to breathe. And I said, what do you mean? I'm breathing. Look, I'm alive. She said, no, you need to learn how to breathe properly. And, you know, Willie talked about it before, taking a step back. Any emotion you have, if you actually concentrate on breathing properly, deep breathing down into your stomach, take time with that, it actually changes the way that you feel. So I'm breathing a lot during this time, and that's just giving me that step back. So write yourself a daily mental health plan. You know, start saying, what does safe mean for you? What does kind mean for you? You know, what is my daily routine to keep myself well so that I can help others stay well? So that's what I'm doing practically on a daily basis.
Yeah, cool. I think the breathing, I wonder if we can, with this video panel, we can provide a link to some resources on what we really mean here by breathing, and just something that you can learn to do in a very few seconds. Hey, Titch, you know, JK talked about seeing some folks out swimming in a group this morning, and he's frustrated by that. I think we probably all have our own views on what the rules are, and we see others that maybe we think aren't taking them as seriously. Any thoughts for your people on, you know, on how they might deal with it? Do we just move on, let the other people not comply? Is there a good way to confront them, for want of a better word, because we think they're putting us at risk?
Yeah, it's a really good point. I think most people will agree in the military we're pretty good at following orders and giving them, by the way, and in following direction and guidance. And for our people, when they've listened to the Prime Minister and other senior leaders talking, they got the what and the why. And so we understand that we have to contribute to the national effort in terms of reducing the spread of the virus. And I think something that we can do in our communities, particularly, and Willie spoke about, you know, his neighbours. We have this theme about the people on our left and the people on our right, and I don't necessarily know all the people that live in my street, but they will have seen me coming and going in uniform over a number of years, and you know, we can set a really positive example. And if they see people like us acting responsibly, following the guidelines, I know that not only gives them confidence that they know that we're there, but also that they're kind of looking at us and saying, hey, you know, these people take it seriously, they're professional. So we absolutely, first and foremost, have to abide by the guidelines that have been set down, and we have to take that to the level so that you know, we're playing our part in terms of being healthy. And the other thing we tend to do a lot is we work in teams, and one of the challenges we have you know, right now is being, you know, physically disconnected, but we draw a lot of strength from each other, being part of a team. It's the very essence of who we are and what we do. And, you know, I would challenge our people to look at new ways, just as we're doing now. You know, I'm a 38-year career soldier, just over the other side of 21 years of age. And if someone like me can learn new ways on how to connect, how to check in with people, you know, you know, there's plenty of scope for us to maintain those connections with family, but also with our teammates. You know, I'll routinely check in with the Chief of Defence Force. We're both using mechanisms like this, where we have to, through to my own cohort of people around my vintage and down and through the force. So, you know, it's about adapting again, and about looking at new ways of how we do that, and being a fast follower and a learner. So, but to come back to your original point, you know, I do think that, you know, we've got this responsibility to follow the directions and follow the guidance that has been pushed out to us, and then taking the responsibility ourselves to do that and set a really, really good example for others to follow.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, if we do see people that we think aren't complying, it'd probably go to Fiona's suggestion, you know, acknowledge the feeling that you've got and take a few breaths, and, you know, maybe we all need to just think about how we'll approach that. Willie, if you think about, you know, the Defence Force and associated people, there's a lot of veterans out there. Do you see, you know, from your perspective, and obviously you know a lot of them and you've lived with a lot of them, is it different for them, or is it very similar?
Just for myself, I've had to just overcome the biggest change that I've ever had to come across in my life, which is to join the social network, which is today. I am not a social media person. I'm a very physical, connecting person, and that is how I've always been. And to now have to go into social media, stay connected with our wider community. You know, it's difficult for me, but it is one of my fears. But this pandemic that we are in right now has had to push all my feelings aside on how I feel, because now it's putting ourselves out there to give our people reassurance, to help provide that calmness that our nation needs, our defence community, every single person in New Zealand. And, you know, we were just talking before about, you know, we see other people that aren't isolating themselves and are still out there in the local community doing stuff. It's not a responsibility anymore. It is our absolute duty to isolate ourselves. We cannot pay lip service to what our government and our Prime Minister has asked of us. We all need to do our part, because if we don't, people will die. And that is the cold, hard truth. There's an invisible force. The only way for us to come out on top of this is to isolate ourselves so it cannot spread. That is the cold, hard truth. We have to listen. We have to listen.
Yeah, we're
connecting socially with everybody through what we've tried to achieve to help get everybody in the same place as we're sitting right now. This is what we have to do.
Yeah, we've got to be a team of 5 million, right?
Yes.
Fight this thing together.
One individual, we need to be one team.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I would offer that. You know, I had a situation the other day where I was coming home. I'm dressed as I am now, and yeah, I saw some behaviour that was less than ideal, given what we're trying to do, and you know, parked up my vehicle because I was going in that vicinity, and you know, I just took the approach that we would normally do in the military, with some slight adaptation around fault checking. And, you know, I basically posted to them saying, hey, is this what we should be doing right now? Do you think we should be doing, you know, we should be having that social distance? And it was just after the announcement we were going to level 3 with the anticipation of going to level 4. And I found that was enough just to put a check in place. Some people genuinely just hadn't thought about it. You know, I got a couple of looks and just said, come on, team. And I used the word team deliberately to try and break down what might have seemed to be a barrier between me being in uniform or not. And that was kind of enough. And I found others around, you know, just through their non-verbal gestures, and that kind of got it. And then I just moved about my business. So, you know, I think Willie's right. You know, we do have a responsibility as a New Zealand citizen, first and foremost, you know, to make those calls. And sometimes that's all it takes, just a little bit of fault checking, just a little bit of coaching, and then, like I say, just setting the example yourself.
I think that that's really pertinent to me. I mean, when I got really unwell mentally, I kept saying, why me? Why is this happening to me? And it wasn't until I took responsibility and accepted it. And, you know, during the last few days, I've been tempted to pop out and do stuff. But if it's meant to be, it's up to me. I do not want to be responsible for someone's lives. You know, I spoke to an Italian woman the other day, a friend of my family's, a friend of my wife's. Her mum passed away from COVID-19, and she cannot go home and see her in Italy or go to the funeral. You know, that brings tears to my eyes right now. I mean, I don't want to be responsible from one of my neighbors passing away. So the hope of this thing is I am responsible. It's my responsibility to do this properly. And if I'm part of this team that I'm talking to now, I need to understand that I've got all of your care under my control. So as a team, New Zealand, as a team, as a country, we need to don't say, oh, I think it's okay. We need to say, no, I'm staying here because I know that self-isolation is going to beat this. And if it's meant to be, it's up to me. I'm taking responsibility because I don't want to be that person that causes one more death. And it's that serious. You know, like I said, my family's in Italy. And we are shitting ourselves every day for my 92-year-old father-in-law and my 89-year-old mother-in-law. And so I don't want to do that here. So it's my responsibility and I'm going to take it.
And I like what you said there, JK, about the fact that it's your responsibility. And what we know is that people get a lot of hope out of doing things for others. And right now, that's a really good message, is that when we're staying home and isolating, we're doing it not just for ourselves, we're doing it for our community. Later on, earlier this week, I got a note in my letterbox from the kids up the road, and it was typed, and it said, this was before we went to level 3, and it said, we are a group of young people and we want to help. Here's our number. If you're an elderly person or a person with young kids, we will go and get shopping for you. We will do things for you. Now, that had never happened in my neighborhood before. We are, you know, I live in a place where everyone's out to work and we don't really speak to each other. And I felt amazingly overwhelmed with gratitude. And gratitude and hope are the things that are going to help us right now. Looking for the hope, looking for the helpers, looking for all those amazing people that, like the people that are watching this video, that are helping all of us right now. We are grateful to you, and gratitude helps us. When we realize and look for the hope, we start to feel hopeful, and we start to wire our brain in a different way so that we don't feel hopeless. And you know what? Right now, there's a lot of examples of things that are really hopeful, and we need to remind ourselves of that so that we don't slip into feeling despair.
Let's talk about that, because it's not, you know, we're going to get together, we're going to survive this, and we're going to come out the other side. The world's going to be a little different, but we're going to thrive. We're going to get back to living fantastically well. There's a lot to hope for. This isn't, I think it's important that we let the viewers know, the people watching here, that there's some great stuff happening now, and so far as I can see, we're getting ahead of this thing as a country. We're being led as a country. We're making this investment over the next 4 weeks. I just spoke to my best mate in Sydney. He's dropping his little girl off to kindergarten. I'm like, what on earth are you guys still doing that for? Maybe we can talk a little bit about the good that is happening, the good that's coming from this right now, because there is a lot of good going on.
Yeah, I think for our people,
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Matt.
yeah, I think for our people, one of the things we know from New Zealanders that come to join the Defence Force, and in our own internal surveys and that we take, that one of their big motivators is they want to make a difference. They want to do something worthwhile. They want to have a purpose. And, right now, the purpose should be pretty clear. And they do that because, they love New Zealand. They love being a New Zealander. They're very proud of where they come from. And we've got a good reputation, and they want to add to that, and they have a genuine desire to help others. And I think for our people at the moment, they need to reinforce to themselves that they are doing good right now, and they need to continue to do that so that they stay healthy, because as and when we are called into respond and provide help to all of government agencies, that's the part that we play. That's what we do, and I do think that feeling runs strong through the force, and that's really reassuring, and New Zealanders should know. We've shown it in our recent history here in New Zealand and within the region. They'll be ready to do that again. But I think in this particular situation, that's even reinforced more. You can do a lot of good as one person, and you've got to, as JK says, you've got to take that responsibility and manage it yourself, because there's a whole lot of positivity coming our way.
Willie, your turn, mate. You got cut off before.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, I just take up on what Peter said, all our veteran community out there, regardless of their age, we all still carry the skills and knowledge of our service. And, like they are just waiting to serve their country and help other people. And, I'd say reaching out to the rest of the nation, regardless if you don't have a uniform on, it is our duty of service now, what we do for our nation. What JK said before, his responsibility, taking his responsibility as in isolating himself at home and keeping the distance from others, because I got to order the Victoria Cross for physically carrying one of my friends out of the battlefield. Now my duty and my service now is to isolate myself at home so that I can save others. That is what we're all trying to achieve. And, some of the good things that are happening around the nation at this time, during this crazy time of the supermarkets being absolutely inundated. The last day I went down there to see all the staff there that are vigorously trying to restock the shelves, people pushing past them and being rude, quite horrible actually, is people are just trying to put food back on there for them to take home. You know, I stopped and said thank you to every single one of them, because they're there restocking stuff so the nation can go home and isolate. No one was thanking them. You know, so the message of kindness is huge. And we've got to have understanding as well about everything that's going on. And, you know, and that's where all the fear and anxiety, everything sort of creeps in, you know. Take that step back so the pressure's no longer on our forehead, on our face, on our nose. And it just enables us to have a little bit more clarity, getting a little bit clearer.
Yeah, Willie, that's, you know, the message of hope that my son said, and I think, you know, what Fiona talked about before. So my son said to me, Dad, tell New Zealand not to panic, because I've been doing this a month now and the shelves are still stocked. You know, the food is going to get through. And so, you know, part of what we need to do is stay calm under pressure. You know, this is an invisible war. We don't see this COVID-19. We don't know what it is. We can't put a face to it. You know, we can't. So kindness is important. You know, people are doing their best right now in a difficult situation. Exceptional times takes exceptional leaders. And I think Jacinda has done an amazing job, but we also need to lead ourselves. You know, it's so important that we are kind to others in those situations. You know, people are putting their lives at risk by restacking a shelf. You know, they are our soldiers at the moment, and we need to make sure that we respect and be kind and don't panic. You know, the food's going to be there next week. The petrol's going to be there next week. You know, things are going to be there. So, you know, I love what you said, Willie, about the horse, and I'm scared of horses, mate. So, you know, when this is over, you can teach me how to get rid of that fear. But to take that step back, you know, they tell me that horses can feel your fear.
They feel all your emotions, how you're feeling right at that moment. You know, and they react to how you feel, and that's how people are reacting around our nation, around fear, and they're reacting to what they see, what they hear, and then there's the time that what they see is uncertain. They don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, or the next day, or the next day. You know, it is patience, it is calm, it is listening, it is walking beside the Prime Minister as a nation so that we all get through this together.
Yeah, I mean, worries, legitimately, we're worried about stuff, but there is a lot of good coming. But maybe Fiona, in 30 seconds, you know, we've done a lot of talking just around worries, unhelpful rumination, I think you call it. How can people deal with that? Because we are worried.
Yeah. Okay, so there's some good strategies around noticing. Notice what you're thinking about. So if you're starting to obsess, and it happens to all of us, one, be kind to yourself, because that is normal. It is normal to start finding yourself going down that catastrophic route. We call it catastrophizing. That is normal. Well, we can get to our point in our heads when our whole family has been wiped out. Stop, pause, notice that you're doing it. And then if it's a routine for you, do things like, this is going to sound weird, but it really works. I suggest do something really physical. Every time you notice yourself going down that route, do some jumping jacks, do some press-ups, do a dance, because what happens is when you get back into your body starts to feel better, and it's almost like you stop and pause. So it's a good thing to teach little kids when they're starting to feel really anxious, is get them out of their head space and start to dance. And the second thing is to test that worry out, saying, right, today, what can I do about that? What can I actually do right now? And usually what it is I can do something in the present. What can I do today? What can I control? What can't I control? Which is something that JK is very good at thinking and living that talk. So you end up with trying to bring yourself back into your body by either breathing or deep breathing is another one. Have some techniques to bring yourself back into your body when you find yourself worrying a lot, and tell yourself, what can I do right now? And that should give you a plan to go forward in your day.
Then make a little plan, right? So that,
my boys press up.
In the middle of the night, what do? Jump out of bed and
My three sons will be all lining up doing 1,000 press-ups by the end of the day. So they love it.
Yeah, it's really good for your fitness. Yeah, and to Adam's point, sometimes it can happen in the middle of the night. So we're talking distraction here. Sometimes it's a good idea. If you're not sleeping, sometimes just let it go. I was advising someone the other night who was very worried. I said, just get out of bed and watch a TV program. This is uncertain times, and we have to just be kinder to ourselves, and sometimes our routine is a bit off. So if in the middle of the night you're finding yourself going down that rabbit warren, what I suggest is try to put some music on, read a book, get up, relax. Don't lie in bed going over things over and over and over again, because it's not helpful to you. And don't worry about not sleeping, because that's another anxiety that you don't need. It's normal to be anxious right now, and so just let it go. I'm anxious right now. That's normal. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to distract my mind, because distraction can be a really helpful tool in these really uncertain and difficult times. Sometimes we just have to be kinder to ourselves and say, you know what? I'm going to sleep 6 hours, not 8 hours, and I'm not going to worry about it. What about you, JK? What do you do?
Yeah, I've got a little personal story that really changed my life. So my dad had 3 triple bypasses, and my sisters rang me. My dad had a little bit of a dark sense of humour, which I've also got. So sometimes I laugh at funny situations. But anyway, my sisters rang me and said, Dad's dying. I said, oh, shit, again? They said, no, you better come home. He's really dying this time. So I flew back to New Zealand. I walk into the hospital room, and Dad says, what the bloody hell are you doing here? Oh, your sister said I was going to die, eh? And he said, well, I'm not. And he didn't for 1 more year. But we had an amazing 3 days together. But he asked me one question that changed my life. He said to me, boy, he used to call me boy sometimes when he got serious. He said, boy, if you died tomorrow, would you be happy? I said, Dad, what sort of question is that? And he said, well, you go home and think about it. When you come back tomorrow, if I'm still alive, we'll talk about it. So I walked back into the hospital room, and I had all these answers. I want to see the kids grow up. I want to do this, do that. And as I walked in, he said, if you want to see your kids grow up and do this and that, that's off. They're givens. We know that. And so I said, Dad, I don't have an answer. And he said, don't touch death to learn how to live like I did. So he had his first heart attack at 59, and then he started living. And he said to me, I didn't change much in my life, but I realized if I don't make the most of today, I don't know what's coming tomorrow. And the other day when I was really anxious about the unknown, which is this COVID-19, you know what I can control? Today. So if you're getting a bit panicky thinking, I want to go to the supermarket, what would you rather do? Would you rather dance with your family in the kitchen or go and get another can of baked beans? And that really helps me get through the day. I need to be great today, and I'm going to worry about tomorrow. I want to live till I'm 100. I'm going to take up golf when I'm 90, and we're going to get through this, people, right? I'm going to take up golf when I'm 90 because I'm still going to beat Joe Stanley, who's been playing for 25 years. So I want to live a long time, but I've got to put those into one-day slots. So I want to be great today. And right now, being great today means staying home, doing what Fiona says, dance with the family, even though my kids think I'm a dick when I dance because I've got 80s dance moves. But that's about today. I don't need to go to the supermarket right yet. I've got enough food. I've probably got enough food for a month without going to the supermarket, to be fair, because we live in this time. So just actually concentrate on today and be great today. And then tomorrow we'll get up, and I'm sure there's going to be more good news. Italy, their deaths went back for 2 days in a row. So we're going to get through this. We are going to live, but just put it in one day things. Be your best self today. And that's how I get through, especially my anxiety and stuff. I take my dad's advice, and you know, I'm going to be great today. I'm going to love my family. I'm going to be with them. I'm going to be the best person that I can be. I'm going to have a laugh. I'm going to have some fun, and I'm going to cook, because that's how my ruminating brain stays calm. You know, if I lie around, my monkey brain, Bob the monkey, he just goes off on his own tangent. So I keep him busy, and I keep him busy by cooking or reading. So I'm going to do that today as well.
Hey, look, so we've talked a lot about what's going on, typical anxieties, and that it's okay, not be okay. But the reality is, some of us just won't be okay right now. Titch, perhaps you can talk to some of your thoughts on that, and some of the resources that the Defence Force have for folks that really are struggling, or that are with people that are struggling.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the first instance, you know, we've talked about reaching out and connecting with others, and if you're not feeling okay, you know, you can take that a step further. Look at some of the tips that we've got on our websites, on our community pages, on our Force for Families website. We have the 0800 number, NZDF for you. It's there 24/7, 0800 693 348. Or the open health line is another one, 24/7, 0800 358 5453. But just know that you're not alone, and there are lots of resources out there for you to use and make the connection. And also for us who are feeling okay, you know, I can't reinforce enough, you know, it's also our responsibility to reach in and just check in with people, and, you know, ask that double, are you okay? Are you okay? Because sometimes we put up a brave front in our first response, and then if we can just continue that conversation a little bit longer and check in again, people will tend to open up. So please, if you are feeling not so good, you know, reach out, and there's plenty there to pick you up. Cheers.
Can I just emphasize that as well? You know, I didn't reach out for 5 years, and it was the dumbest thing I ever did, because I thought it was a weakness. But once I reached out and got help, it actually turned into a strength, because I could get back to doing me, get back to doing the things that I wanted to do. So, you know, if you're thinking, you know, I'm going to be okay, don't. Reach out to get the help, because you will get better. You'll get some guidance, you'll get some understanding, and that just makes you get better faster. You know, if you had a bung knee, what would you do?
Cool. And hey, some of us who've got folks around us that aren't doing okay, Fiona, we're not, you know, if someone close to me or one of us here is not doing okay, and we recognize that, you know, we're not necessarily equipped to deal with that. What's our role? How can we best help those people?
The first thing is to check in, because we don't know how people are feeling. So the first thing I would say is to ask how you're doing, especially the people that you love. The second thing is to listen. We tend to want to come up with solutions, and we want to make it better for people, but often people just want to talk. And so listen more than you're talking. That's actually a really key thing here. And let people say the things that they need to say. It is not your job to fix it. And if after a conversation that you're worried, take their hand, and that's just not physically, but walk with them to the phone to get them some help. Because sometimes people are worried about getting and reaching out themselves. So your role really is to stand with them. And it's not to fix them. You don't have to be the psychologist. You need to be asking, check in, listen, and then help them get help if they need it.
Awesome. And hey, Titch, the folks on the Defence Force, they've obviously got all the resources of the Defence Force. Are they also okay to access general public services? We've obviously got those provided for all of New Zealand, like the 1737 line. Are your folks entitled to access that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know people that do, and I know people that have. And with the COVID response as well, if people have been feeling unwell, that's all available. So yes, definitely.
Awesome. So there's great resources out there. Hey, we probably should start wrapping things up so that we don't outstay our welcome with this audience. You know, we've talked a lot about that this is a natural thing, the way that all of us are feeling. We've talked about the need to act as a team of 5 million people, and we'll get through this thing and we'll get through it in good shape. We've talked about worries, we've talked about anxiety, we've talked about how to deal with some of those things. We've talked about the good that's going on. JK, one of the things I love about you is your positivity, and one of the things I've picked up from you, and I think it's critical right now, is you talk about having something to look forward to every day. And I think if we all on this call, all of the Defence Force, all of New Zealand, can come up with something to look forward to every day, and maybe something bigger every week, you know, it's going to make a big difference to our mindset in a given day. And so maybe we just go around the team. Titch, you've been quiet for a little while. Perhaps something that you think you look forward to today, something you might look forward to doing with, you know, online or with your family once a week, and just any last comments out there for the Defence Force team.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. You know, I do pick up on the points that you've all offered, and you know, I think there's an opportunity here as well. You know, one of the positive things that I always look forward to regularly is actually being at home, and so we've got an opportunity here to spend time with family, which sometimes, you know, we're not afforded. So just to treasure and be grateful for this time that we do have. So I think that's a big take home for some of us who over our careers have spent, you know, a lot of time away. We actually look forward to not travelling and not being out and about, and just being grateful for being able to be at home and get on with those things that we never seem to have time to do. And I also think that, you know, I personally use the time, particularly early morning, just to be by yourself. And so as much as we've talked about being connected, it's just taking that pause. You know, some listen to music. I tend to you know, just to go outside for a while. Sometimes it's linked into physical training or not. But it doesn't have to be very long. I've just found it kind of centers you and sets you up for the day. You know, others will, you know, recite prayer or karakia. I learned my limited te reo most of the time in the morning, just going over things and talking to myself. You know, but I just found through that, you know, that you know, just kind of set you up for the day. So I think there's an opportunity in there to do that. I really pick up on your point around staying focused on what it is that we have to do and being under no illusion about the task set ahead of us, but at the same time staying calm. In the military, particularly during our formative training and our basic training, we get a lot of things to remember. So we use mnemonics quite a bit, and I've turned calm into a mnemonic. So the C standing for being connected and actually caring for each other, and Willie's point about being kind. The A being adaptive and agile. Try new things, try things in new ways, you know, and staying positive with that. I think the L in calm would be for lead. You know, leading family, leading community, and for us, you know, when we're doing the tasks that are set to us, is obviously leading our teams. And the M being for managing ourselves, and all those tips that you've all provided today. You know, that's right from our own basic hygiene and distancing through to, you know, retaining that positive mindset and keeping those simple routines going. So that's what I've turned the word calm into. And thanks very much for everyone giving their time today.
Yeah, it's wonderful, man. Calm, love it. Fiona?
I think the most important thing for us right now is to maintain that idea of hope, because there's a lot to be hopeful for. In the science community, we know in terms of COVID-19 that we've isolated the virus, vaccines are on the way. It's really just a question of us waiting it out. We just don't want to inundate our hospitals with a lot of cases. 20% of us will get quite sick, but 80% of us won't. So there's lots of reasons just scientifically to be positive. And when we're in a situation where we're talking about a national calamity, and this is a pandemic, the thing is to look at the benefits. And it's hard when we're faced with something that's difficult to look for the good, but there are a lot, and Titch was perfect in the way that he summed that up. We have opportunities now to connect to family, take the time that we might not otherwise have had. It's a way for the world to slow down right now and start to maybe reprioritize. So look for the good, keep the hope, spend some time with yourself, and ultimately be kind. Be kind to the people around you, and be kind to yourself, be kind to your family, be kind to others.
JK?
Yeah, talking about, I call it my goodie basket. So what do I have to look forward to every day? And I was really looking forward to this, actually, because I love the Defence Force. I love everyone who dedicates their lives for others, and I want to thank each and every one of you in the Defence Force for everything that you do for me as a normal civilian. I absolutely love all the people in this group that we've got at the moment. Titch, I probably won't say I love you just yet, bro, but I've only just met you. Your words have inspired me. I particularly love Willie. I think he's an inspirational and outstanding New Zealander, and when he talks, I learn and grow. And so it's neat for me to see Willie again and connect with him. From a personal point of view, I'm really looking forward to cooking for my family tonight. That's what I do to look after myself. If I cook, it distracts my mind, and I'm also giving to others. And just to leave you with some hope, my son has been living 30 minutes from the epicenter in Italy of this disease. He had stuck to the rules. He has isolated himself, and he is incredibly well. He is getting through this well. He had shrimps on a barbecue last night that he brought at the supermarket, right? So if we stick to these rules, we're going to beat this thing. I said last night that, you know, Sir Edmund Hillary climbed Everest, and when he came down, he said, I knocked the bugger off. He probably said, I knocked the bastard off, actually, but they had to change it worldwide. He was an exceptional New Zealander. And COVID-19 is our Everest. And so we've just got to stick to the rules, stick together, play as a team, and we will win. We will knock the bugger off. And that's what I'm looking forward to, getting life back to normal and being proud of myself and my family for doing their little bit. So stay safe, people. Keep smiling. Have some laughs. And look after yourselves and those around you. So thanks to all you out there, and we'll see you on the other side of this.
All right. Hey, just before I give you the last word, Willie, for me, the things I look forward to are with my family, but also some more simple things than you guys. Bag of licorice, all sorts in the evenings, pretty good. You know, maybe watch some rubbish on TV, cuddled up with the dogs. I love going for a walk with the family. I love getting up and exercising. So, you know, and one of the things for me, I've been ringing my mum every day. I'm in Auckland, she's down in Kapiti, and geez, we haven't spoken every day for years, and it's been really special for me and really special for her, and there's good that comes here. Willie, you're a great leader of New Zealand. We look at Titch's calm, and I think you exemplify, as others do on this panel, leadership. So let us know what you're thinking. Last final words for the folks in the Defence Force and for us.
Hey, no kapai. Hey, what I've got to look forward to today, I told people what JK said. I really look forward to this discussion and this panel group we've had this morning with each other, and I just love being part of the group and the amazing people that are all on this discussion this morning. Me today, to look forward to is my boys and I, we are building a garden for Mum to plant us all our veggies. So we did all the structure for that yesterday, and today we are going to fill it full of all the horse food from out of our paddock, and then develop it right up and putting the topsoil on it later on. And then from there I'll go down and where I find my little bit of a quiet time and my peace time just by myself is I'm taking a horse in at the moment. So that is just where I go and have my bit of a time out from the family group. But it is great being home and isolated. Like I said, as service people, we spend most of our time away. Now to be home and to be connecting with the family is great. You know, we have no choice now. We have to be home and we have to connect. And we have to be kind. We have to be understanding. All of these things that keeps our home going, we have to employ in our studies today. And also to our people, to the nation, to our defence community, to the veteran community, every single New Zealander. Calm, the acronym that Titch has just explained to us is beautiful. Calm, kindness, love. Love thy neighbour. You know, grow the love in the home. Everybody's got to be vigilant, got to be isolated for us to be able to fix it. This is our Everest. We've got to knock the bugger off, JK. And we can only do this together, New Zealand. Look forward to chatting to you all again. Thank you. Kia ora koutou, whānau.
Kia ora.